loss of the season after having their wings clipped by Wichita State over the weekend. Tonight, the Bulldogs can knock the Redbirds out of a first-place tie in the Missouri Valley Conference with an upset win in the Knapp Center. Great men's basketball is next on MC 22. Missouri Valley Conference basketball as the Drake Bulldogs host the Illinois State Redbirds. Hello, everyone. Larry Morgan along with Adam Emmenecker. And Adam, tonight we enter the final third of the Missouri Valley Conference season. So let's take a look at the standings. And now every game becomes important as these teams vie for seeding in Arch Madness.
You know, it's so funny. Anytime we get to this final third of the season, you start to get that log jam in the middle of the conference. So two teams have separated themselves, Wichita State, Illinois State. But look at that in the middle. From Southern all the way down to Drake, you really only have a 1.5, 2 game separation there. Evansville and Indiana State at the bottom, but it makes these games so important coming down the final stretch. You got to take advantage of any opportunity you have to win at home.
Redbird's goal is obvious, win the conference championship. For the Bulldogs, just getting out of that play-in game would be so important. They've not done it since you took home the trophy in 2008.
Yeah, and that's hard. You know, winning 3 games in 3 days is hard enough, let alone having that extra task of winning in the Thursday game. So for any team in the Valley, Larry, that's what they're looking to avoid. They're looking to avoid that Thursday game if they can. And here you see the remaining schedule. It's opportunity to pick up a couple of wins. So you have road games at Indiana State and Evansville toward the bottom of the conference. And this Drake team has played well at home. Loyola and Bradley, good teams, but not necessarily going to scare you. You got to take advantage of each of those.
Of course, the Redbirds have had an outstanding year. They're 11-1, but let's talk about the one. They go down to Wichita State, undefeated, and get blown out by a score of 86-45. What kind of a psyche did they bring into tonight's game?
Listen, that game is an aberration. This Illinois State team is really, really good, and they're without one of their better players, without Mikhail McIntosh, their third reliable scorer. After beating Wichita State at home, when they went in to the Shockers Arena, man, oh man, they were in for a buzzsaw. This Illinois State is really, really good. They're not going to be fragile tonight. They're going to be coming out with a lot of energy, a lot of intensity.
Rebounding will be so important for both teams tonight, so we'll take a look for our spotlight players at each team's leading rebounder. For the Bulldogs, T.J. Thomas has pulled down 22 in the last 2 games.
And coming off his first double-double, 10 points, 13 rebounds, career high, as you see there against Bradley. T.J. Thomas, his athleticism makes such a big difference for this team. Has really long arms. The first half had 9 rebounds against Wichita State, a really good rebounding team as well. They're going to need that type of effort out of him against the Redbirds.
You ask Illinois State coach Dan Muller, what's been the key to your team's success? He'll say great senior leadership led by Deontay Hawkins.
Listen, inside, outside, Deontay Hawkins is an absolute scorer. He can knock down the 3 over 45% from there. Average has 5 double-doubles this year. 5 times he's been over 20 points. This guy is so dangerous. He struggled a little bit against Wichita State. Look for them to try to get him going inside early on.
Got 19 against the Bulldogs January the 21st when Illinois State won at Normal 72-58. The Redbirds really dominated the paint in that game.
Yeah, they were 32 points in the paint, and then Drake in single digits. So they were getting a lot of shots close to the basket. This Drake team, if they want a chance to beat the Redbirds, it's a tall task, but you got to make sure they don't get any easy shots.
It's a terrific defense against the Drake team struggling to shoot the ball. That could be the key tonight.
Yeah, the Illinois State, one of the top 5 teams in the NCAA in field goal percentage defense. They contest every shot. They're long, they're athletic, and they really get after you. For this Drake ball club, got to move the basketball, take advantage of any open looks.
So for both teams tonight, this is a very important basketball game. It's Illinois State at Drake next on MC 22. Game in a row with this same starting lineup.
A little bit of consistency for a team that had a lot of turmoil early in the year. D.T. McMurray and Ori Arogandade on the perimeter have been huge assets for this team in games that they've won at home.
Ray Timmer leading the Bulldogs in scoring, tied for third in the league at 16 a game. How about our keys to the game?
for this Illinois State team. They really have to value the basketball. When they've struggled, they turn the ball over a lot. 19 turnovers against Wichita, 17 in a loss against TCU, 18 in a loss against Murray State. Especially without Mikhail McIntosh, they have to be efficient on the offensive end and channel their energy. After a big loss, they're going to be coming out with a lot of energy, trying hard. They have to do that in a positive way. If we look for the Bulldogs, take advantage. Friendly confines under Jeff Rutter. This team is 4-2 at home in the Knapp Center. Take advantage of the home crowd, feed off their energy, and clasp the caroms. We talked about it earlier, Larry. This Illinois State team, really good rebounding team. Can't give up easy second chance points.
Jerry Pollard, Kelly Self, and Ray Vitelli are the officials, and the opening tap controlled by the Redbirds. Paris Lee, their 6-foot senior, who is hitting 41% from three-point range, and again leads the league in assists and steals. He feeds Deontay Hawkins, who doesn't get the roll, a scrap for the rebound, and the first rebound of the game belongs to the Bulldogs. D.J. McNury pulling it out. Illinois State will play two defenses, 2-3 zone, man-to-man defense. And their 2-3 zone killed the Bulldogs in normal.
They have a lot of length, especially when Mikhail McIntosh is healthy and on the floor at 6'7" out on the perimeter. This Illinois State team can really get after you.
McMurray on the miss, and the rebound taken by Phil Fain. Fain at 6'9", a first-year player at Illinois State, a sophomore transfer, an outstanding addition to their ballpark. T.J. Thomas with a rebound for Drake.
Early effort, Paris Lee getting into the paint, trying to be aggressive.
McMurray, who had a 28-point game the last time the Bulldogs were on this home court against Wichita State. Handles the basketball. Paris Lee guards him. And Lee goes for the steal. He has a bunch of them. He's the leading active steal leader in the country. Organdade misses. Scrap for the rebound. McGlynn on the floor for the Bulldogs. Wills on the floor for the Redbirds. Dan Muller, the coach for the Illinois State Redbirds. Last time the Redbirds made the NCAA tournament, he was their senior leader and a two-time Missouri Valley Conference Defensive Player of the Year. That was back in 1998. Then 12 years at Vanderbilt under Kevin Stallings. 5th year at Illinois State's done a terrific job there.
All right, this Illinois State program, the Redbirds, continue to climb under Dan Muller. Picked second in the league this year and have certainly lived up to expectations.
Bulldogs doing a good job defensively early. Neither team has scored the first minute and a half. Keyshawn Evans leaves it short. Organdade with the rebound for the Bulldogs.
Good job early on the defensive glass, getting a body on somebody. Illinois State hasn't even really been close to being able to get an offensive rebound.
Numbers to keep in mind. Illinois State in the league is giving up 60 points a game. The Bulldogs against Valley teams at home are averaging 84 points a game. Something's got to give.
Yeah, talk about a difference in pace as we take a look at the pass from Reed Timmer trying to get it to McGlynn early in the paint. I thought McGlynn actually stopped his cut. Probably should have been able to catch that one for two as we see the nice finish from T.J. Thomas, our highlighted player in the open, knocking down a 15-footer.
And so it takes over 2 minutes for the first score of the game to be put on the board, and the Bulldogs have it. Paris Lee, little jab step.
An interesting defense right here for the Bulldogs, switching that screen and roll right now with Paris Lee and Deontay Hawkins.
Paris Lee with a three ball. And again, he's an outstanding three-point shooter. You also have to watch Deontay Hawkins is 44% from distance.
Paris Lee shooting at 41% on the year from distance. He was about a 28 to 30% three-point shooter when he got to Illinois State. Didn't take a lot of them, but part of getting in the gym, being a senior, he's gotten a heck of a lot better shooting from distance.
McGlynn pitches it out to T.J. Thomas. Goes down the lane to stuff it. Thomas with the first two Bulldog baskets.
And a little bit of a fumble with the basketball, but you see the quick burst off his left foot, the one-foot jumper, T.J. Thomas throwing it down through the teeth of this Redbird defense.
So the Bulldogs are in a man-to-man defense, but again switching those screens. And Illinois State has open man-to-man. Into the paint goes Fain. Coming off a 9-point effort against Wichita State. Not a lot of points, but it led the Shockers in scoring.
Phil Fain.
Rather, I should say the Redbirds in scoring. Wills knocks the ball off the thigh of Timmer.
Phil Fain's been a big surprise, but how about TJ Thomas, the play early on? Already has a couple of rebounds, and even though that ball gets knocked out of his hands, just nice and smooth, elevating up in the air. TJ Thomas with the good finish.
A couple of rebounds early as well as a couple of baskets. Averages 8 rebounds over the last 5 games. Nice soft hook goes in.
Yeah.
Deontay Hawkins can score from everywhere, can't he?
That's what I was just going to say, Larry. That's a great point. Inside and outside, he's got such a soft touch. You know, some guys, when the ball leaves their fingertips, it just seems to settle in and around the rim. Even if it hits the rim first, Deontay Hawkins has a great touch.
McMurray on the miss, Wills on the rebound. One of the great things this Redbird squad has is experience, and it was senior to senior, lead to Hawkins.
Experience and athleticism, Larry. Don't forget about the
that
athleticism.
helps too, doesn't it?
Really nice pass and find by Paris Lee, senior point guard, always keeping his head up in transition. And Deontay Hawkins showing off the skills, back-to-back buckets.
Guess if you had the choice of experience or athleticism, you'd take athleticism, wouldn't you?
Oh, it's better if you have both.
Absolutely. Hawkins comes down with a rebound for Illinois State. The Redbirds 19-5 overall.
And Larry, that's what makes what Dan Muller's done with this program so impressive, is they allow the ability to do both. They've been one of the more athletic teams in the conference, and now they're putting it together. They play a really good floor game, and Wills, an example of that. Hard-nosed defender, can shoot it a little bit from outside, but it's his toughness and his leadership that really keeps him out there.
Fain got that offensive rebound. And we have a foul call. And that will bring us to our first timeout. 5 minutes deep into the ball game. Dan Muller's team is on a 6-0 run. For the Bulldogs, TJ Thomas has been the offensive threat thus far. What's in the paint? And inside. So Redbird Run has put them up 9-4. The NBC Fan Hangout is the perfect gathering place before and after games during Arch Madness. It's located at Ballpark Village in downtown St. Louis, just across the street from Busch Stadium. For additional information, visit archmadness.com/fans. Bulldogs under the direction of Jeff Rutter, and since taking over for Ray Giacoletti on December the 6th, his team has gone 6-10. Won a road game, something they hadn't done in 2 years. He's assisted by Dave Buchanan, J.R. Blunt, Brian Lucas, Chris McMahon, and Corey Marquardt, and they're really doing a terrific job. You see his overall record. Got an early start at age 31 at Wisconsin Parkside.
And Rutter has made a big difference with this team. You know, I love what he's done. He's come in, and basically what he says is, listen, players, I'm going to trust you. You just play hard on the offensive end, play hard on the defensive end, but I'm going to instill a lot of confidence in you. But what that means, there's a lot of accountability, and that's what this Drake team, as they've made a run and started getting better, winning some basketball games, that accountability has really shown through.
3 subs come into the game for the Bulldogs. The timeout. Reed Timmer's first shot of the night goes awry, and the ball goes out of bounds. Last touch by Illinois State. Jacob Enevold has come into the ball game, the Bulldogs 7-footer, and also there is Casey Schlatter coming off a good game at Bradley when he got 9 points and 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and a couple of steals. And the Bulldogs 79-72 loss at Peoria on Saturday. Billy Wampler also into the lineup for the Bulldogs, so it's 4 new faces on the floor along with Timmer.
And here's that 2-3 zone you were talking about a little earlier, Larry. Something the Bulldogs struggled with last time playing against this Redbird ball club. And how about that for Jeff Rutter, a sight for sore eyes. Billy Wampler, a guy who struggled shooting it over about the last 10 games after having a scorching stretch earlier in the year.
Yeah, he shot just 22% from the floor over the last 11 games. So to get him started would be huge for Drake. Nice tip. Good position by the 7-footer for Illinois State. Down to Njai.
And on the post-up on one side, they were double-teaming on the block. Jacob Enevold comes over to help. And because of that, Njai, a free man, a rover as he comes in, trying to get the offensive rebound and putback.
Sooner or later, shooters bust out of slumps. Billy Wampler's been in the deep one, but 2 for 2 tonight.
And off to a great start. This Drake Bulldog team can struggle offensively at times, and Billy Wampler is somebody who can light it up in a hurry.
And with a quick answer, Deontay Hawkins. And Hawkins with 6 early points for Illinois State.
And how about after a stretch at the beginning of the game, hard to get a bucket on each side. Now points flowing for each team.
And feeling like a pace favoring Drake. Wampler, nice look inside. Doesn't get it. Crowd wanted goaltending, didn't get it.
Yeah, it looked like Deontay Hawkins, as he was going up to the rim, might have grabbed it as the ball was floating up there.
Lee on the miss. Hawkins on the rebound. Lee, Hawkins, and Wills, the three seniors for Illinois State, have provided great leadership. Dan Muller could not be prouder of his team than his seniors than those three guys. He said they've been terrific.
No, and just such a luxury to have three seniors that get to play a lot, as we see the nice patient move from Paris Lee in the paint. So you have your primary ball handler in Paris Lee, your best defender in Wills, and your best overall scorer in Deontay Hawkins. That's great balance for your senior class.
Wampler pulls up. He's red hot.
Boy, how about that? Now off the dribble as well. Billy Wampler, ability to score in bunches with the nice fadeaway. That's a shot we've seen him develop this year as a sophomore, that one dribble pull-up.
First 13 games of the year, he was on fire. Since then, not so much. Keyshawn Evans with a three ball, and that is his 33rd three of the year. And about 80% of his shots are going to be three-point shots.
Yeah, only listed at 6 foot. Maybe they might have counted the afro in that too. Might be a little smaller than that. Shoots it well from the perimeter. I actually really like Keyshawn Evans, young sophomore, is a secondary ball handler and facilitator in addition to Paris Lee. Has had some good games this year.
Wampler draws the foul. And we've got a timeout with 11:55 left to play. In the opening half, that last foul on DJ Clayton. Wampler comes off the bench and has already fired in 3 baskets, 2 from distance. Illinois State with an early 18-12 lead for the Bulldogs. Billy Wampler comes off the bench, has scored 8 points, significant, because that's the most he's scored in any of the last 7 games.
Spot-up shooter in there, hands ready, feet ready, lets it go. And once he sees one go down, Billy Wampler started being really aggressive. So knocked down the second one in between there. Also had to take to the rim that he was unable to finish as it trickled off the rim. But 8 early points for a team that was struggling to score against a really good Illinois State defense.
You know, it's so ironic for Billy Wampler. At Bradley, he hits his first 3. And the coaching staff thinks, all right, he's going to be okay.
Yep.
He now knocks down a second 3 in a row, nullified by a moving screen. And then it was just another of those struggling days for Billy Wampler. But so far tonight, it's a different Billy Wampler, a early December, late December Billy Wampler.
And shooters really like shooting at home. That's part of the advantage. You're used to the trajectory. You're used to the rim. You're used to the backdrop. You're sleeping in your own bed. So you oftentimes see shooters shoot a much better percentage at home.
Wampler averaged 13.4 in the first 13 games, only 6 in the next 11. And this would be double figures for Wampler in just over 3 minutes of action.
That's heating up in a hurry. The microwave, Billy Wampler, getting started early on, 10 points.
C.J. Rivers has come on the floor for Drake. Wills from outside. Fain thought he had position. He was battling Wampler inside, and they got Wampler on the foul.
That time seeing Drake switch to that 1-3-1 zone. One of the hardest things to do when you're playing a 1-3-1, you have less guys underneath the basket. It's hard to match up and be able to rebound. That time, Fain sneaks in from the backside and draws the foul on Wampler.
Evans on the dribble, a sophomore from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Got 6 against the Bulldogs last time out. Evans drives the lane, high floater, won't go. Njai had the position for the rebound, but couldn't hang on.
Njai doing good work in there, getting his hands on a couple of second chances, even though wasn't able to corral that one. Coach Dan Muller has to be happy with the effort.
They are long, aren't they, inside?
They're very long, especially if you're playing Fain and Njai in there. 2 guys, 6'9", 6'10", long arms, good athleticism.
Offensive foul spotted away from the ball. And they got McGlynn.
Now it looks like they got Nick McGlynn for a moving screen. You know, screens are one of those things that are very sensitive topics. You have to be very, very set. Sometimes you see guys kind of put that chicken wing out or thrust their hip out a little bit. That time the official got Nick McGlynn for moving just a little too much before he made contact.
9 minutes into the game, only 4 fouls, 2 apiece, only 4 turnovers, 2 apiece. Evans for 3. The long rebound to C.J. Rivers. Wampler challenges the shorter Wills. Kick out for an open McGlynn. Thomas tries to get the rebound, tips it over to Rivers. Wampler tries again. Bulldogs trying to keep it alive, but a nice job by Williams to corral it.
T.J. Thomas, good work inside, packing the ball out with his outstretched arm. Got another good look for Wampler.
Feed for Njai.
Not doing work again around the rim. This time with the nice pass from Wills. I tell you, between Wills and Keyshawn Evans and Paris Lee, the ball handlers of the Redbirds, really good passers.
Well, how do you stop that last basket by Illinois State if you're Drake?
That's tough. That's tough. You know, you got a guy with good athleticism, and when you run those screen and rolls, it forces that switching action.
Meanwhile, Wampler remains red hot. He's got a dozen of the Bulldogs, 16.
Coach Dan Muller's thinking what you just mentioned. How do you stop him on the other end? Billy Wampler staying hot.
You know, you probably look at the scouting report and you say, hey, I think we can slack off him. He hasn't scored well lately. Well, every night's a different night, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's funny when you talk to coaches around the league, and especially as they're coming into the Knapp Center, this Drake Bulldog club is a really difficult team to prepare for because they have multiple guys who can go for 4, 5, 6 threes in one basketball game. Billy Wampler, a great example of that.
Njai with a rebound and the Wampler miss. Redbirds with a 4-point lead. Heaven picked up by Graham. Woodward does a terrific job defensively for the Bulldogs on perimeter defense. Njai sets the screen. Shot clock is at 10. The clear out for Wills. Takes it to the rack. McGlynn spikes it down.
Now we're going to take a look here with the blow by as Wills gets by Billy Wampler. A nice help side coming over Nick McGlynn. You notice if you're a shot blocker, you always want to be the second guy off the floor. If you're the first one off the floor, most likely you're going to foul somebody. They're going to be able to get into your body. But he waited until Wills committed to go up to the rim, and then the nice block out to the out-of-bounds line.
4 seconds for the Redbirds to shoot. The long shot by Lee won't go, and Wampler's there for the rebound. Wampler kicks to McMurray. Wampler guarded by Wills. He'll get around him, fire it, and miss it. Offensive rebound put in by Corey Kinsling. So after the Bulldogs built themselves a small deficit of 5, they have come back to pull to within 2.
And good hustle, extra bench points. We talked about Illinois State and the Bulldogs not wanting to give up second chance points. Now Drake doing good work on the offensive glass.
Deontay Hawkins kicks it out for Paris Lee. 4 seconds to shoot. Lee tries to get it back to Hawkins and can't do it. And Drake has the chance to tie with a 2, lead it with a 3. With 8:07 to play in the opening half. Ori Origandade back onto the court for the Bulldogs.
I really like the look by Paris Lee, though. I like the action, gets into the paint, draws the defense, looking for Deontay Hawkins there, just unable to connect as we see Corey Kinsling. Good job on the offensive side. Now that Billy Wampler's drawing a lot of attention, that's going to open it up for his teammates. It was Kinsling on the offensive glass there.
Should be a helper, Reed Timmer, as well, who has struggled shooting over the last 3 games. Rivers fouled of the act of shooting a 3-ball. Bill Fain picks up his first foul. Timeout, 7:41 left to play in the opening half. Drake will be on the free throw line when we return with the Redbirds leading the Bulldogs 20-18. Welcome back to the Knapp Center with Illinois State tied for the league lead. And Drake squaring off, and Illinois State with a 20-18 early lead.
Illinois State doing a great job getting points in the paint early on. A big difference, 12 points in the paint versus only 4 for the Bulldogs. And how about the play of Billy Wampler, what we've seen. 12 points for him, picked up a rebound as well. That's helped Drake get an advantage. 14 bench points versus only 4 for the Redbirds.
Illinois State, a team that has had 19 turnovers in their game against Wichita State Saturday. 1 turnover thus far tonight. So you know that their coaching staff is thrilled with that. On the other hand, the Bulldogs have really reduced their turnovers of late, just 2 in this game.
Yeah, and the one turnover that Paris Lee had a moment ago was what I'll call a good hustle turnover. So when coaches look at turnovers, they look at a few things. First is they don't want to give up the live ball turnovers. Live ball turnovers means you give it up to the other team. Maybe they get a layup on the other side. Those can really hurt you. The other ones are more hustle turnovers. So it's guys trying to make a play, doing all the right things. If the ball goes out of bounds, you still get to reset your defense.
Rivers fouled in the act of shooting a three ball, has a chance to go 3 for 3. And he does. He's an 80% free throw shooter. And those three give the Bulldogs the lead at 21-20.
Drake continuing this 1-3-1 zone. This Illinois State Redbird team has had a hard time penetrating the gaps.
So Lee shoots over the zone and drills it.
They call that a zone buster,
yes,
Larry.
They do.
If you're having trouble penetrating the gaps, especially when you're playing against a zone, this 1-3-1, what it allows openings on the wing for those three-point shooters. If you're not knocking them down, it can be hard to get through the defense there. A nice shot from Paris Lee.
Organdade against Wills. There's a really good matchup of two outstanding defensive players. Actually, Lee had in that time. Kinsling goes inside. Left-handed hook is there. And Corey Kinsling off the bench for 4. And the Bulldogs bench is really responding tonight.
Corey Kinsling, not a guy that's gotten a lot of playing time consistently throughout the year, but he shows that, coach, put me in and I'm ready. 4 points early on. Good effort in there for the big fella.
Javaka Thompson, who's not seen a lot of playing time. This just his 11th game of the year on the court for the Redbirds. Dan Muller using his entire squad. McMurray for the three ball.
You know, Larry, if I'm a coach and I see that shot McMurray just took, yes, I like the aggressiveness. That's one of those no, yes shots in transition. Nice finish from McMurray.
Wills nearly losing. Lee against McMurray, tries to get his offense to start moving around a little bit more. Bain comes up to set the screen, and Lee misfires on his attempt at back-to-back threes. Organdade there for the rebound. Talked about how crucial rebounds would be in the Bulldogs, and the Redbirds pretty much even in that category. McMurray misses, and Hawkins rebounds. Interesting story about Deontay Hawkins. He actually would have another year of eligibility if he chose it, but has decided, no, this will be his last year at Illinois State.
Yeah, interesting. Don't see that very often. Usually it's guys trying to fight for an extra year, not heading out a little bit early.
No, but he thinks he can make some money. Reed Timmer, who's had a quiet start to tonight's game, the Bulldogs' leading scorer back on the court. Bulldogs had not given Timmer a lot of minutes early in this game.
Yeah, only 8 minutes so far early on, which is really unusual. Reed Timmer, usually a guy that up towards the top of the league in minutes played. But part of that is, well, you got a guy like Billy Wampler who's really heating up. You get some good minutes out of Corey Kinsling. You can allow Reed Timmer a little bit of rest when other guys are picking up the slack.
Organdade against the defense of Clayton. McMurray tries to get around Lee. Organdade, a skip pass, open, fire, scores.
Nice pass that time from one side by DJ McMurray, and I actually thought it was a pretty good contest by DJ Clayton coming and closing out. But good offense oftentimes beats good defense. Organdade has shot the basketball really well in conference play.
Drake has their biggest lead of the game. Steal, Organdade. Bulldogs have the numbers. Organdade takes it right to Clayton, misses, and the rebound taken the other direction by Keyshawn Evans. Down the lane comes Lee.
Nice finish. Nice finish, knifing through there for Paris Lee. And you see how momentum can shift. A miss on one end leads to 2 points for the Redbirds.
A quick 10 points for Paris Lee and a timeout with 4:41 left to play in his first half, which has seen a game played at a pace that I would think would be a little faster than Illinois State would want. Seemed to be favoring Drake at this point. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, it's funny. You know, this Redbird team, when you look at their points against, they're one of the top 15 teams in the country in points against. That might make you think that their pace is slow. Well, they play slow partially because they play such good defense. They don't give up a lot of easy shots, but they have great athletes. They can get out in transition, as we just saw Paris Lee knifing through the lane there. So, you know, for this Redbird ball club, part of what makes them good, part of the reason they have 19 wins and only 5 losses is because of their versatility and adapt to different styles.
That a Redbird timeout. Jeff Rutter sends his charges back onto the court. Comes back with Thomas, McMurray, Timmer, McGlynn, and Oregondade. So the Bulldogs had their starters back in. 7-foot Dowda Njai in the middle for Illinois State. Lee, Evans, Clayton out there along with Hawkins. Oregondade on the miss and Paris Lee on the rebound.
And, you know, watching the Illinois State huddle in that last time out, Larry, I think Dan Muller had a few choice words for Clayton as we see Paris Lee now imposing his will on this basketball game, picking up his 13th point of the first half. Coach Dan Muller really wanted to talk to Clayton about the turnover he had up top, about a little laziness he thought on the defensive end, and that has spurred his team to a little run.
McGlynn for three. His first basket of the night, and the Bulldogs surge to a 4-point lead.
And that's a little difference we've seen from Nick McGlynn, the ability to step out and shoot the basketball, getting more and more comfortable out here as he gets more seasoned and experience.
Travel called on Keyshawn Evans. Illinois State commits just their third turnover of the first half. Timeout, 3:37 left in the opening half. The Redbirds and Bulldogs in quite a struggle, and the Bulldogs knocking down threes. Nick McGlynn, the latest to do that. 18 attempts so far, and they made 5 of them.
And the difference, I think, early on is the bench points. 19 for Drake, only 4 for the Redbirds. But it's the starters getting in on the act. D.T. McMurray, that no, yes, 3 I mentioned earlier. Oregondade, who's been sizzling in conference from three-point range. And here Nick McGlynn, the trifecta there for McMurray. 1 knockdown and 2 assists to his open teammates. So three-point shooting starting well for the Bulldogs.
And they always talk about how contagious three-point shooting is. Yes. Wampler comes in, a guy who struggled, knocks down his first 2 threes, and the Bulldogs seem comfortable from there from distance.
And the other thing we saw, a couple inside-out passes. So dribble penetration allows those open opportunities. Here we get a little bit of three-quarter court pressure, just trying to control tempo for the Redbirds.
Both teams have had 6-point leads, no bigger. 6 lead changes, couple of ties.
Dropping into that 2-3 zone, trying to switch up the rhythm.
Bulldogs really struggled against this zone in normal. McGlynn goes inside, and he gets fouled.
And a nice pass that time for Reed Timmer, knifing through there pretty frequently, especially when you watch Reed Timmer now, seeing him go to his right here. People jump so hard on his left hand. Extra development for this guy as he moves from his junior to senior year. Being able to go right, feeling comfortable with that time, a nice feed to McGlynn.
Njai with his first foul. McGlynn, a 78% free throw shooter. If it comes down to free throw shooting, decided advantage Drake. The Bulldogs are the best free throw shooting team in the conference. The Redbirds are the worst free throw shooting team in the conference.
And so in these conference games, so frequently we do see it come down to the last 2 or 3 minutes, and a couple guys on the line might make the difference.
Right now, the Bulldogs 7 of 7 from the free throw line. The Redbirds have yet to visit. Hawkins did a nice job of pinning the defense to score.
You know, that's what Doug McDermott used to do that was so good when Creighton was in the Missouri Valley, is he would get position before the ball was delivered to him and then go up and score.
Takeaway and finish by the man who leads the country among active players in steals, Paris Lee.
And that's just lazy in the backcourt if you're the Bulldogs, being able to break pressure. This isn't really heavy pressure. It's just kind of passive. You have to be strong with the basketball, make really crisp, smart passes, and step to it.
A point that Jeff Rutter wants to make to his ball club right now with 2:35 left in the half.
Now, Coach Rutter going to talk. Okay, 2 minutes, 35 seconds to go. Largely, if you're the Drake Bulldogs, you feel pretty good about the position you're in, but it's those type of lazy turnovers, giving away 2 points on the other end. Remember earlier, Larry, we were talking about live ball versus dead ball turnovers? If that's a dead ball turnover, you still have your defense set. You force Illinois State to play 5-on-5 against you. In a live ball turnover, you throw it away underneath your own basket. That's an easy 2 points. Those can add up quickly.
Lee coming in tonight with 234 steals. That is not only the active NCAA leader, it is 9th best all time in the conference.
Wow.
It's already the Redbirds' career record.
And a testament to the great career that Paris Lee has had. And, you know, we mentioned this earlier, but I love the progression that he's shown, improving his shooting every year, improving his scoring every year. He's got a couple of different double-doubles, both with assists and rebounds. So Paris Lee, a senior, a leader, one of the best players in the Missouri Valley.
We talked about the trio of seniors for the Redbirds. They've got 25 of Illinois State's 32 points. 3 seconds on the shot clock. Timmer lets fly an air ball. Redbirds have a chance to tie it with a 2, regain the lead with the 3.
And out of a timeout, if you're Coach Jeff Rutter, that is not the type of offensive execution you want to see. When you have a chance for a set play, knowing you're going to go against that zone, you want your players to go out and execute. A little bit of sloppiness that time for Drake. Give credit to the Redbirds. Good defense.
Open, Keyshawn Evans, 3-ball. His second 3, and again, he's a very good three-point shooter. More than 80% of his shots behind the line, and he gives the Redbirds a 1-point lead.
And really good ball movement, too, swinging it around the perimeter, allowing that opportunity for Evans. And one of the things he does so well is he prepares himself for the basketball.
We talked about the Bulldogs struggling at normal against this 2-3 zone as Wampler misfires. McGlynn rebounds, and he gets fouled by Fain. But Drake had 13 possessions without a score against this 2-3 zone in normal.
Yeah, that's tough. So that's probably, what, a 5 or 6 minute stretch without a field goal. So, you know, for this Drake team, that's something that they've struggled with, having that consistency from end to end throughout the course of the game without going through some of those dry spells. But, again, this Illinois State team, one of the best defensive teams in the country. They can be very difficult to score against.
They're giving up 60 points a game, yet the Bulldogs are more than half of 60 already. Timmer, fall away, not there. So far, a cold shooting night for the Bulldogs' leading scorer, and the Redbirds come up the court with a chance to pad a 1-point lead.
Yeah, not too often with a minute to go in the first half do you still see a goose egg next to Reed Timmer's name on the scorebook.
Inside, a push spotted.
And it's Njai getting in there again, drawing the foul this time. We've seen him attack the offensive glass, get second chance points. We've seen him get up and catch a lob. Here, his activity drawing a lot of attention. TJ Thomas trying to rotate over. It gets a little too much of his hip.
McGlynn, though, actually getting the foul, although, is that what the officials are discussing, who the foul was against?
I think they're trying to figure out who should be shooting the free throw. Paris Lee steps up and says, listen, guys, I'm 80%. I'm trying to shoot this thing. Njai's not quite as proficient from the line. He's only 63%. So Paris Lee, little gamesmanship, trying to get a couple extra points to pad his stats.
Kelly Self, the veteran Missouri Valley Conference official, goes over to explain to the Bulldog coaching staff what the situation is.
It looks like it's only 3 team fouls on the Bulldogs here, so that's part of the reason they're not going to the line.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a shooting foul. And Lee will inbound.
Now the craftiness, Paris Lee, he was trying to convince him it was. Sometimes if you believe, Larry, you can make it happen.
Hawkins gets the roll. He's just got that nice soft touch, and more or less when he takes that shot, it's going to bounce in the right direction, and the Redbirds are on a 9-0 run.
Yeah, you know, with that ball leaving his hand, I didn't think it was going in. I didn't think it had a shot. The ball was a little bit deflected. It was bouncing out of his arms, but just so soft off his fingertips. That's what makes Deontay Hawkins such a good scorer, now into double figures.
Final minute of the half, and the Redbirds have turned it on after that timeout. Hawkins from outside, no. Oregon Dade with the rebound.
Bulldogs coach Jeff Rutter holding up one finger. Happy to hold for one shot here. Get a chance to be down one potentially, or even tie this basketball game in the closing seconds.
Shot clock is off. Jeff Rutter stands up, holds out 6 fingers, indicating the play that he wants to see the Bulldogs run here in the final seconds of the half. Time running down. McMurray against Lee. Lee goes for the swipe. That deflects the ball. Goes for the swipe again. And so the defense of Paris Lee denies the Bulldogs the last shot of the half.
Yeah, really good activity by Paris Lee. When he gets down in a stance, he's a menace. He's got very, very quick hands. That time a little too much for D.T. McMurray.
The Redbirds 15-4 when they had the halftime lead. The Bulldogs 0-12 when they are behind at the half. And Illinois State takes a 3-point lead to the locker room. Bulldogs got some good early action from Thomas, but at the other end, Njai making a big impact inside for the Redbirds to lead by 3 at halftime. Gaines has not scored tonight for Illinois State.
And saddled with those 2 fouls, picked up 2 pretty quickly. Still got 12 minutes in, but look for him to try to be aggressive here in the second half.
Drake with the ball first, and that set play, and you always like to get that going in a positive direction, but Glenn couldn't hang on.
Yeah, that was a heck of a feed, though, by D.T. McMurray. You know, that's one of those next-level type of passes. You see the guy with his back turn, the wraparound bounce pass. Unfortunately for McGlynn, he had a blind spot and was unable to hang on.
Redbirds left the court with momentum with 9 unanswered points. They tried to hit Fain underneath, but Oregon Dade is there to break up the play.
Good job by Oregon Dade, the recognition to be able to see that one and then take his athleticism to rise up and snatch that ball out of the air.
Timmer takes it to the rack, draws the foul.
And then Reed Timmer, 0 points in the first half, Larry. 0 points in the first half. I can't remember the last time we saw that out of Reed Timmer, but what's he going to do? He's going to be aggressive. Going hard to which hand? Left hand. Going hard to the rim. He just does such a great job of drawing contact, keeping the defender on his hip.
The 13th all-time leading scorer in Bulldog history at 1,260 points goes to the line. Averages 16, tied for third best in the Valley, but as Adam mentioned, shut out in the first half tonight.
And a lot of times if you're a scorer, you want to get to the free throw line to see the ball go through the hoop. For Reed Timmer, we'll see if this can get him going.
Did take only 3 shots in that first half. Knocks down both free throws. No surprise for the 80% free throw shooter, and it's a 1-point game. Redbirds have played a lot of basketball lately. This is their 4th game in 10 days in 4 different cities. 3 road games, 1 home game. And the Bulldogs get it as Fain unable to control it.
Nice defense there by Nick McGlynn, but we've seen now 2 straight possessions. They've tried to get the ball to Phil Fain to try to get him going. You mentioned how well he's been playing, Larry. Struggling this evening. Good job by Nick McGlynn, keeping his body away from Fain, keeping his hands up and getting that deflection.
McMurray trying to get around Lee. Timmer guarded by Wills, who's a really good defender himself. Timmer does a nice job of getting contact there with Wills.
Coach Dan Muller not very happy with that one. He felt like Reed Timmer, after the pump fake, jumped into Wills. We're going to take a look at it here. Presumably, if the defender jumps straight up and down, that would be an offensive foul. But you see Wills moving forward after creating a little bit of that space. That's a tough call for the officials.
And Timmer steps right back to the line and knocks down his 3rd consecutive free throw. Has struggled a bit shooting the 3 ball of late, 2 out of 14 in his last 3 ball games. On the year, though, a much better 36% 3-point shooter. And he gives the Bulldogs the lead. So the Redbirds, who started the first 3 minutes of the first half without a basket, now have gone a minute and a half into the second half without a basket. Fain on the turn, gets the roll.
Tough. A really nice move that time by Fain. Thought it was good defense again by McGlynn, but Fain just beating it with better offense. Nice spin move in the lane, showing his versatility.
And we mentioned how hot he's been lately. You can see why Dan Muller wants to get him into the action. Lee with the lead feed for Hawkins against McGlynn. Gets the basket and gets fouled by McGlynn. And McGlynn with his 3rd foul. Another
example of the live ball turnovers, Larry. And McGlynn turns it over on one side, and then on the run out, Hawkins quickly transitions from defense to offense, goes up strong, taking the contact and finishing. Nice finish there in transition for Deontay Hawkins. Corey Kinsling, who had a good 5 minutes in the first half, and he was 2 of 2 from the floor and got a rebound, comes onto the floor early for Drake. And with those 3 fouls, McGlynn will sit down. Hawkins completes the 3-point play. Comes in averaging 14 and a half and has 13 early in the second half. Into the lineup for Illinois State. Dada Njai played 21 minutes against the Shockers the other night. Got 8 rebounds. His most extended playing time of the year.
And Coach Dan Muller really liked what he saw, so we're seeing a lot of him tonight.
And part of that against the Shockers, their length and their athleticism means Illinois State has to match up with that as well. And the absence of Mikhail McIntosh opens up minutes and opportunity.
Thomas does everything that time but finish, and then tries to get his own rebound and can't. He had a nice move to get there, didn't he?
Yeah, we saw a move similar to that in the first half when he went up and could dunk it. That time he was pushed a little bit further away from the rim, gets so close, and those are frustrating. Something TJ Thomas has made hundreds of times throughout his lifetime.
DJ Clayton onto the court for Illinois State. Got a career-high 15 against the Bulldogs last month, but has not scored tonight. Evans finds Wills. Timmer blocks it. Wills gets it back, puts it up and misses it. Big contest for the rebound, and the offensive rebound taken by Clayton. And then the Redbirds toss it away, and the Bulldogs get it on the turnover, down by 4.
And an uncharacteristic play there by Wills as he was a little rushed, kind of fumbled the ball early on, gets a turnover. Coach Dan Muller just kind of looked at him and said, hey, come on, let's go. Got to be smart.
Those kind of turnovers that have really bothered him of late. McMurray, fall away, won't go. Bulldogs icy to start the half. Thomas picks up the basketball, gets tripped.
And good activity that time. Ori Organdade keeping that ball alive, seeing it bounce out on the perimeter. One thing, if you're a team that struggles to rebound the basketball, it's huge to have your guards be able to pick up those loose balls. Ori Organdade keeps it alive, knocks it over to TJ Thomas, who draws the foul.
And Wills gets the foul, and that's his third foul.
And he's having a nice conversation on the sideline with Coach Dan Muller.
Timmer, jump stop, gets it back out to McMurray. Organdade, bullseye.
And a nice pass again by DK McMurray, getting in the paint, facilitating at the point guard position. Nice feed to Organdade.
Organdade, the most consistent Bulldog of late. Inside to score, Paris Lee.
Boy, he's quick, Larry. He's quick with the basketball, and just like Reed Timmer likes to go left, so does Paris Lee. That first step of his is so long, he really pushes the basketball out, and once he gets his shoulder by your hip, he just explodes to the rim.
Organdade tries to shake Evans. Organdade averaging 12 points a game over the last 13. That's 5 more than his season average. Has really been consistent of late. Thomas with the takeaway. Timmer trying to get around Williams. Kinsley inside, misfires. And Organdade's position for the rebound. But the Bulldogs got called for a push. Organdade with his first foul. We got a timeout, 15:58 left in regulation of a 3-point ball game. Organdade eating up from the corner to pull the Bulldogs back to within 3. Redbirds 44, Bulldogs 41. Single session discounted tickets for the 2017 State Farm Missouri Valley Conference Men's Basketball Championship are on sale now. Reserve your seat to Arch Madness by calling 800-745-3000 or order online at Ticketmaster.com. And as we mentioned, tonight begins the final third of the Missouri Valley Conference season for most teams, 6 league games remaining. On the Illinois State bench, the man over there on the right of your screen, former Hawkeye great Dean Oliver in his 3rd year on Dan Muller's staff. Member of the Iowa High School Hall of Fame for his great career at Mason City. And I think a young head coach in the making. Has had 3 solid years at Illinois State. Coached under Brian Jones in North Dakota. Prior to that, has pro basketball experience. Personable guy, interesting guy, Dean Oliver.
And point guards always view the game differently, as you always tell me, Larry. So Dean Oliver approaches it from a unique perspective, and obviously quite a player, quite a career in his own right.
You guys know it best, don't you? Nice catch by Njai in traffic. And then he got pushed by Schlatter. That's not the way the crowd at that end saw it, but it is the way that Casey Self saw it. Make it on Kinsling, I should say. And that'll be Kinsling's first foul.
Yeah, and great athleticism here by Njai, showing the balance to go up and get that basketball and maintain his composure in the lane.
Clayton trying to take it to Wampler, and he travels.
Nice defense that time by Billy Wampler, a guy not necessarily known for his work on the defensive end. Did a great job moving his feet and staying in front of Clayton.
McMurray, the only starter on the court after that timeout for the Bulldogs. Kinsling, Woodward, Schlatter, and Wampler make up the rest of the Bulldog five. Wampler was red hot early in the first half. Wampler being guarded by Williams, off to Woodward, who's been a good scorer lately, but misfires there. Woodward comes in, averaging 9 points in recent games, but has not scored tonight, and the Redbirds get a three from Keyshawn Evans.
If you're a three-point shooter, a great time to get an open look is on a second chance point off an offensive rebound or to try to get yourself set in transition. Keyshawn Evans that time hunted the three-point opportunity, got a nice feed from Clayton and knocked that one down.
Wampler, baseline, Schlatter. Gets the roll. And Casey Schlatter has his first basket tonight.
Oh, I thought Duda Njai was going to throw that thing into the third row. Casey Schlatter put just enough loft on that one to get it over the outstretched arm of the big fella.
And the Redbirds lead the league in blocked shots, averaging almost 5 a game. They've only blocked 1 so far tonight. Williams with the basketball, and primarily for defensive reasons. Evans against Woodward. Blows past him, gets the ball inside to Fain.
And how about the playmaking that time? Keyshawn Evans, a guy that likes to be able to knock down and shoot it from the outside. That time gets in the paint, a nice feed to Fain.
McMurray comes off the Kinsler screen. Fain grabs the rebound. And Wampler gets the foul.
And how about Fain picking up his activity level, scoring on one end, getting a deflection on the other side, and a rebound as we see Fain here. A little bit too easy. The defense rotates over, no backside help, and the take for Wampler. Fain contests the shot and then goes and grabs the rebound on the other side. Good activity from Phil Fain.
Fain, a sophomore with a great upside. Last year played at Western Nebraska Community College, was a late signee by Illinois State. He thought he'd go back to junior college for another year, then decided to try to make it in Division I, and he's done a fine job for Illinois State, especially of late as Deontay Hawkins hits off the glass, and Illinois State takes their biggest lead of the game.
Hawkins just has such great touch with the basketball around the basket. No matter how much pressure you're putting on him or how fast he's going, the ball seems to just trickle around the rim.
Redbirds back in the zone. And that's a good 2-3, an active 2-3, isn't it?
Yes.
4 seconds on the clock. Woodward trying to get some help. Kinsling finally came out to set the screen, but the shot wouldn't go, and the rebound taken by Hawkins. And right now, Illinois State's got some momentum in the dominant stretch of the game for the Redbirds. Lee finds Fain in the baseline. Fain travels. Trying to throw a fake there, and it didn't work.
Nice look from Paris Lee getting it to the other side. I'd like to see Phil Fain half a step in, ready to catch that ball and go up and dunk it. I think it surprised him a little bit. It was just a little bit quicker of a delivery from Lee than he was expecting. Because of that, he traveled.
Williams checks out, and Wills is back in for the Redbirds, who show no ill effects of the 41-point loss at Wichita on Saturday. Woodward for 3. Rebound by Fain. Fain at 6'9", with long arms and a big presence inside for the red-clad Redbirds. Lee, spin move. This guy's got a bunch of moves, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's just nifty. I mean, he's nifty with the basketball. He's really hard to stay in front of and defend. And he's got that little floater. And, you know, he's not a big guy, probably 5'10", 5'11", something like that. But he can rise up pretty quickly off the ground. He's got a nice little burst to his jump and can be difficult to block his shot.
With 19, Paris Lee having one of his best offensive games of the year. May not be coincidence. The last time out against the Bulldogs, he was 0 of 6 and held to a season-low 4 points. Wampler, 3-ball, off to the left. Players don't forget things like that, do they?
No, they don't. And it's some teams you just like to play against. You have a good matchup, you like the guy you're going against, or you have a gym that you're just really comfortable shooting in.
How about the red highlights in the hair of Paris Lee to match the uniform? Pretty classy, I think. As is that shot.
And Paris Lee now over 20 points for the basketball game. And talk about living and breathing Illinois State Redbird athletics. When it's in your hair, Larry, you know it's good.
It is true, and it's an 8-0 run for Illinois State. Looks like right now it's a combination. The Redbirds are hot, Bulldogs defense not playing as well, and Drake not hitting baskets at all.
Yeah, and I think the Drake offensive possessions the last few times down the floor have been pretty poor, actually. Just settling from the perimeter rather than being aggressive. As you see, the nice offensive rebound. Good work in there for Wampler.
Everything with the finish and just not going down right now for Drake. Now we have a timeout as Jeff Rudder tries to get his team regrouped. They've fallen behind by a dozen, their biggest deficit of the ball game, with 10:57 to go. The Knapp Center with Illinois State on an 8-0 run and have opened a 55-43 lead.
Paris Lee taking over here in the second half, has 6 points early on, 20 in the second half, 21 for the game, and here's how he's doing it. Drive into the lane, that easy getting up to the rim. Here we see the nice float game, really active on the offensive side, and then caps it off with the soft touch and a pull-up jump shot. Paris Lee dominating the second half on the offensive end for the Redbirds.
His career high 24 earlier this year against St. Joe, and he is 3 points away from equaling that. Paris Lee, outstanding senior from Maywood, Illinois, Proviso East High School. All defensive Missouri Valley Conference the last couple of years. Tonight his 43rd consecutive start, the longest string among the Redbird seniors. Illinois State has made 6 of their last 6. The Bulldogs have made just 1 of their last 10 shots. Paris Lee, the aforementioned Lee, once again with a steal. This time he cannot finish. Thomas finds Oregondade. Oregondade in deep, scores.
And we saw that happen the other direction in the first half, right, Larry? We saw a miss on one end as Drake got a run out, and then Illinois State capitalized. This time, it's the Bulldogs. Oregondade, a heads-up play off a nice pass from T.J. Thomas, but, boy, the quick hands of Paris Lee just wreak havoc, don't they?
Yes, they do. McMurray commits a foul against Lee.
Now we're going to see after Paris Lee goes up and misses that one. Thought he was a little bit fancy. Thought he got hit on that side. Oregondade on the other end. Really nice finish through traffic.
Billy Wampler leading the Bulldogs in scoring with a dozen, and Lee leading Illinois State with 21. For now 24.
And boy, he's comfortable out there. Nice extra pass by Deontay Hawkins. You know what I love to see when teammates are playing well together, they're looking for the hot hand. And this time, the Redbirds looking for Paris Lee.
Oh, he did not get the roll that time, but how hot has that hand been? Timmer leads the Bulldogs the other direction. McMurray with the pitch to Thomas, and the Bulldogs just can't buy a basket right now, except for that layup by Oregondade.
And good penetration. That's a nice kick out right there. That's a good shot for the Bulldogs. Sometimes good shots just go down, but you have to stick with it. Players tend to revert to their averages. Those are going to go down if you keep getting good looks.
Hawkins gets inside, has trouble handling onto the basketball, and then comes up limping a little bit.
Yeah, looks like he limped himself into a travel. Hopefully he might have sprained his ankle there as he was coming down. Hopefully Deontay Hawkins is okay.
Yeah, he's the guy that you'd hate to see Illinois State lose. Mikhail McIntosh already out for another couple of weeks.
And we're going to take a look at it here. Yeah, just look, you see that little tweak with his right ankle as he was stepping. Now, it didn't look like it went all the way down to the ground. Those are just really, really scary when you're running through the lane. Came up lame a little bit, but I bet we'll see Deontay Hawkins back in this one.
T-Shawn Evans gets ready to check in for Illinois State. In the middle, it's Thomas with the dish for McGlynn. And again, the Bulldogs now just 2 of their last 13 shots. And really, we talked about the even rebounds. Of late, 1 and done at the Drake end. Yeah,
and Fain and Njai, a big reason why. When they're inside in the interior, they're hard to shoot over, have a lot of length and athleticism. They've been clearing the backboards.
Njai, a guy who's really stepped up for the Redbirds the last couple of ball games with the injury to McIntosh. A little bit of sloppy ball handling, but the Illinois State Redbirds will still have the basketball with 4 seconds on the shot clock. Lee gets a rest, and Evans replaces him.
And only 4 seconds on the shot clock here. We'll see what Coach Dan Muller has drawn up.
He finds Evans right back to Clayton, who inbounded and misses everything, and Timmer has the boards for the Bulldogs.
And DJ Clayton, not a guy that shoots a lot of outside shots. Maybe not the best look, but pretty open.
Timmer looking for his first basket of the night. McGlynn offensive rebound. And then Thomas puts it off a knee. But last touch for the Redbirds. They pushed it off his knee.
Good activity by Nick McGlynn that time to go and get that. You know, one of the advantages you have, Larry, when you're watching your teammates shoot, when you're in warm-ups, when you're just shooting around, whether it's in season or off season, is you get a feel for when the ball leaves their hand, is it going in or not? As we see D.T. McMurray make a much-needed three to pull the Bulldogs within 10. But when you see a guy shoot day in and day out, you start to get a feel for, does he miss left, does he miss right, is he going to be long, or is he going to be short? And you can take advantage of that and get easy offensive rebounds.
Evans with an answer for Illinois State. The Redbirds really shooting from distance well tonight, and they open a 13-point lead.
And how about between the 2 point guards for Illinois State, between Evans and Paris Lee, 32 points, 5 assists. That's great efficiency.
Takeaway, Clayton, finish Clayton.
Ooh, transition. Clayton getting up with the right hand flush.
A 15-point Redbird lead, their biggest. Kinsling gets the rebound. Rejected from him by Njai.
The athleticism of the Redbirds taking over here.
Now to Njai has been very impressive tonight for Illinois State. Didn't have big numbers, but had certainly intimidated the Bulldogs inside. Redbirds enjoy their biggest lead at 63-48. Illinois State has turned it on and leads 63-48.
Now we're going to take a look at how the Redbirds have done it, and it's been defense turn into offense. We see DJ Clayton, a nice little poke away there. TJ Thomas doesn't come to the basketball and just takes off from outside the lane with a one-handed dunk off the left foot. Take a look at it again. Just watch how he knifes in. He knifes in so quickly. You know, if you're playing defense, you got to be down in a stance in that pressure. You have to be able to anticipate. DJ Clayton, textbook defense and offense there.
We talk about Drake Cole shooting just 4 of 20 in the second half from the field. On the other hand, Illinois State, 11 of 16 in the second half, 69%. Hence, the 3-point Redbird lead is now 15.
And the points in the paint for the Redbirds continue to grow. Now the advantage is 30-10, so similar to what we saw in normal.
Origandade tries to penetrate. Taken away by Evans, and then he gets fouled by Origandade.
And again, active hands on the defensive side. Even when Paris Lee's in the game, his impression is felt on the defensive end. Keyshawn Evans that time looks like he got a bit of a deflection. Came out of that one, and all Schlaughter could do to prevent a layup was foul him.
That's the 16th foul against the Bulldogs, so Illinois State in the bonus on the next. Clayton lobs it inside for Njai, and Njai gets pushed.
And boy, you just throw it up by the rim. Njai continues to go get it. So we saw the first half he goes and flushes one. Then here in the second half, we saw him kind of catch one and stay on balance and draw a foul. Here again, up by the rim, that length just goes up there and draws the foul on Wampler.
It's Wampler's third foul. This only the second free throw opportunity of the game for Illinois State. And you know what? No one has missed a free throw yet. The Redbirds are 2 of 2, and the Bulldogs are 11 of 11.
Yes. Yeah, especially for teams that are struggling a little bit. Drake for the game only 30% from the field. Illinois State is sizzling 55%. But to see the efficiency from the free throw line.
And it's a 17-point Redbird lead. And a current 10-point run. Take that back. A current 7-point run by Illinois State. McMurray, nice dish. Slaughter had a tough time hanging on. McMurray now to the lane. And even though the Redbirds do not have a number of blocks tonight, they are a little bit under their average in blocks. But there is great intimidation when you take it to the paint against Illinois State.
Yeah, they contest shots, feign Njai in there, give a little bit of extra length, and make it really, really difficult to shoot over as you get close to the basket.
Feign firing off the baseline. and getting fouled.
And now you're feeling a difference in the energy level of both teams. Illinois State very, very confident on the offensive side, feel like they can get any shot they want. The Bulldogs seem to be pressing a little bit, trying a little bit too hard, trying to make some individual plays, having a hard time getting back into this one as the lead balloons to 17.
Fain, a 6'9" sophomore from Elk Grove, California. We mentioned by way of Western Nebraska Community College. That's the first free throw miss for either team in the game, by the way. He did not play high school basketball until his junior year. So really, this is just his 4th year of organized basketball.
Wow, and so impressive to see the progress he's made. He's turned into somebody, you know, when he first started, he wasn't making a lot of post moves. It was just kind of catching those drop-offs, playing defense. But now he's turned into an offensive threat. You see the aggressiveness to be able to shoot a 17-footer on the previous possession.
Woodward misses badly. Crowd thought, and the Bulldog bench thought somebody hit his arm, but no call. Jeff Rudder's really steaming right now at Gerald Pollard.
And Coach Jeff Rudder trying to fire up his team, screaming, wanting to get a foul call on the other side, especially after Phil Fain was shooting a 2-point basket and got a foul from 17 feet. He thought Graham Woodward got hit right in front of his bench in the corner.
And did Coach Rudder get a tee?
Yeah, I got teed up there. Jerry Pollard, as he was walking by, tees up Coach Jeff Rudder.
And so that will send Keyshawn Evans to the line. Now that's as fiery as Jeff Rudder is at an official. You see it with his team always encouraging, but he was really upset by that last no call against Woodward.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Coaches get technicals for a few reasons. Sometimes they just go a little bit crazy. That's the first reason. The second reason is they're really, really mad at the refs and they want to try to turn the tide of the game a little bit. This might be an example of Coach Jeff Rudder wants to see some of the intensity out of his team, show his fiery spirit to see if he can get his crew to start battling.
No, I had the same thought as I saw him get that tee. Down the lane, Clayton draws the foul. He will go to the line, and Illinois State will be in the double bonus for the final 6 minutes. Or is that only number 9? I guess it's only number 9. Nope, they were late putting it on the board. That is number 10. So this one's slipping away from the Drake Bulldogs.
And DJ Clayton just a 52% free throw shooter, missing his first one there.
Started his career at Western Kentucky, played there a year, went to Palm Beach State for a year. And so this is first year in a Redbird uniform. Another Californian on this Illinois State roster. He is from Oakland. We mentioned Fain from Elk Grove, California, but all have come to the Midwest or further to play and then wound up at Illinois State. Really good program. And they are going to have their 39th winning season in 47 years of Division I basketball.
And, you know, it goes back to even Porter Mosier kind of getting it started there about 10 years ago and transitioned to Tim Jankovic, had a lot of success, couple of teams on the cusp of the tournament, and now we've seen Dan Muller really culminating with this year, a really, really good Redbird ball club, top 40 RPI team.
Kinsling inside draws the foul.
And that time a nice feed on the interior. That's one thing they've missed, the Bulldogs in recent possessions, trying to get the basketball underneath and try to get easy opportunities, maybe a chance to go to the free throw line and get some freebies.
Njai with his second foul. It is the 4th called against Illinois State. And Corey Kinsling, the sophomore from Dunkerton, Iowa, steps to the line, where he has struggled this year at 55%. Had a couple of good minutes, a 5-minute stretch in the first half where he got a couple of baskets and a rebound.
Yeah, played really well in the first half. I thought his activity level was really good, played pretty hard on the defensive end.
Billy Wampler, that red-hot start, 12 early points and nothing since.
And Drake picking up their defense, extending a little bit more, trying to force Illinois State into a turnover.
By the way, Deontay Hawkins has not returned to the lineup since tweaking his apparently ankle. Wills tries to save, did save a coach, but didn't save the basketball.
The look on Dan Muller's face, just priceless. He gets the cross-court pass from Paris Lee and just stares at him across the floor like, what in the heck are you doing, son? That was way too hard of a pass. We don't need those turnovers. We're up 19.
Thought it was Tom Brady, didn't he?
Oh, boy.
Speaking of which, just out of curiosity, no one stole your jersey after you won the Missouri Valley Conference tournament, did they, down in St. Louis?
I don't think that was a very coveted item.
Okay, so you think you still have it somewhere?
Yeah, I think. Well, you never know with those things. I think we gave it back to the school, and they probably wash it. Maybe they gave me a replica, and it's hanging in someone's closet somewhere. You never know.
But no one stole yours that day. That's what I just wanted to check.
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
Big controversy over the missing Brady jersey.
We didn't exactly have the level of super fans that I think you experience in the NFL, especially for one Tom Brady. I wasn't an UGG sponsor either, so
And haven't married a model to this point in your life.
That's true.
Redbird ball with 4 1/4 to play. So let's talk about Illinois State down the road. Let's assume that they are going to have a shot in the NCAA tournament. What's good about their chances of advancing? What bothers you about their chances to advance?
I think just talking about their NCAA tournament chances first. So I think if they would have picked up that win at Wichita last week, that would have been great for helping them build the case. But as you look at their resume, 19 wins and 5 losses, RPI are about hovering around that 40 mark. They really have to take care of business to close out this season unless they're going to win the conference tournament. And as you look at them and Wichita going neck and neck, I think this Illinois State team pretty much has to win out to be in consideration for an at-large bid. But once they get to that level, if they're playing in the NCAA tournament, I like their chances, especially as Mikhail McIntosh comes back. That means they have a 3-headed monster. If 2 of those guys between Hawkins, Lee, and Mikhail McIntosh are hot in any given game, any one of them can go for 25 plus. So because of that, this team has great athleticism. They have a really solid core that plays well together. They could be dangerous in March.
Organdade on the turn. Just an icy shooting second half for the Bulldogs. How much is that of Redbird defense?
No, it's a ton. I mean, it's length around the rim, not giving up anything easy. It's Illinois State doing a great job not fouling as well, getting back in transition. And, if you continue to have to shoot over a hand, that makes it very, very difficult. Obviously, some of them are going in, but switching back and forth between the man-to-man and this 2-3 zone has really flustered the Bulldogs.
This was a 10-point game with about 9.5 to play. Organdade sets, fires. Again, one and done, the story of the second half. The Redbirds really making themselves felt on the courts. And what a pass, Wills to Clayton.
Yeah, nice finish for Clayton, adjusting to that basketball in the air. The pass from Wills came in a little hot, and Clayton still gets up.
When this got away, it got away big time, didn't it? And fast.
Well, that's actually similar to what happened in Wichita for the Redbirds. They're just getting the exact opposite impact, going from a close game to losing in a hurry. Here, building a big lead.
They're on a 29-5 run. Yes, Dan Muller's team on a 29-5 run, and they lead at 76-48. Everybody's scoring right now. Pretty spectacular one that time from DJ Clayton. Redbirds about to win for the 20th time this year. You see that patch on the left shoulder of the Illinois State Redbirds. That's a 7 surrounded by some other information, and that is in memory of a 2015 plane crash that took the life of the then associate head coach Torrey Ward, an administrator, and several of their top boosters, and those are their initials around the 7 in the Redbird. Now, to go on with that story, Torrey Ward, again, the associate coach, he and Paris Lee had a great relationship. And this year, Torrey Ward's mother gave the sneakers, the Jordan 10s that Paris Lee wore, or that I should say that Torrey Ward wore, to Paris Lee so he could play his senior year in those sneakers, because they had a very close relationship. Pretty good story, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really sad story and obviously really difficult. That was a tough loss, not only for the Redbird family, but also the entire Missouri Valley anytime you have an event like that. But, a great testimony to this team and being able to play in honor of their family.
Rivers has come in at the timeout for the Bulldogs. Drake, in the second half now, 4 of 28 shooting the basketball, have been outscored 39-14.
Wow.
So Drake had 34 points at the half against the team that gives up an average of 60 in the Valley. You thought that was pretty good? How about Illinois State clamping it down and 14 second-half points for the Bulldogs?
Yeah, really great defense, too. And like I said earlier, Larry, you know, it's against Wichita State, this Redbird ball club fell victim to a 22-2 second half start in the roundhouse that they really struggled and could not come back from. Now we're seeing them impose their will in the Knapp Center.
By the way, I'm looking at the Redbird bench. Deontay Hawkins is hopping into the huddle with a ice pack around his right ankle, so you got to hope it's nothing serious for him. 76-48 to score.
And how about you look at the second half, the defense Illinois State has played, holding Drake under 20% from the floor, under 20% from three, have just really locked down, held this ball club to only 5 field goals in the second half. Great lockup job by the Redbirds.
Hine with the miss, and a Bold battling for the rebound with Njai, who knocks that out of bounds, and the Bulldogs have it with 1:26 to play. So next up for Illinois State, a home game on Saturday against Bradley. The Redbirds have won 18 in a row at Redbird Arena. And that's 6th longest winning streak in the country right now. The Bulldogs, meanwhile, play 3 of their next 4 on the road at Indiana State, at Evansville, home with Missouri State, and then at Loyola.
And, you know, for 30 minutes of this basketball game, both teams played pretty even. And then Illinois State just imposes their will, especially with locking down on the defensive side. If you're the Drake Bulldogs and you go back to the room, you have to regroup and say, listen, we got 5 games to play. We have a couple opportunities, even though 3 out of the last 4, or 3 out of 4, on the road. 2 of those games are against the 2 teams in the bottom of the conference standings. You can't allow them to climb up and catch you in their 7th position.
And as we talked about at the top of the telecast, finishing out of the play-in game, which is, of course,
right,
the lower 4 teams, would be so crucial for the Bulldogs. Count the basket, and a foul called on the Bulldogs on the way in. Basket made by Andre Washington. Again, he, like Rudder and Dolvin for the Bulldogs, guys who don't get to play a lot, just his 13th appearance of the year. And as Dan Muller's seen his team pull away, he's able to play guys like Andre Washington, Javaka Thompson, guys who normally don't see a lot of playing time. Washington misses an opportunity to get in the scoring column.
And a sloppy turnover here for the Bulldogs. Both teams losing a lot of energy here down the stretch. Looks like they're ready for this one to be over.
A very competitive first half for Drake and a nightmarish second half.
Yeah. Well, the tale two halves, and so much when you go into the locker room at halftime, so often that kind of stuff changes. It really, you have to come out with a lot of energy and be able to match the opposition.
Madison Williams pulls up and gets in the scoring column.
Nice move by Madison Williams. He's had a couple pretty decent games for the Redbirds, had 11 points against Hawaii, and obviously going to be thrust with Paris Lee and Tony Wills graduating next year. It's going to be a big part of this Redbird team going forward.
Now, over the years, and this will be Illinois State's 9th consecutive win over the Bulldogs, this is a team, as much as any in the league, that Drake's had a hard time matching up with.
Yeah, and it's their size and athleticism that this Illinois State team continues to recruit. Their size inside, and with what Coach Dan Muller has done to be able to build this program.
Dolvin able to finish for the Bulldogs. That's just his 4th basket of the year, and this his 7th appearance of the year. And this one comes to an end, and the Bulldogs live through a disastrous second half. Illinois State imposes their will defensively and wins it 82-53. Drake 45-19 to win it 82-53. As we take a look at our play of the game, there were some Bulldog bright spots.
Yeah, going transition defense to offense. Hustle and back on the defensive end. This was in the second half when Paris Lee started taking over. But T.J. Thomas, the hustle on one end and a nice outlet to Aro Gandade. This kept the Bulldogs in it. This cut the lead back to single digits and became a little bit of a rallying cry. But ultimately, the Redbirds, Illinois State, too tough in the second half. 45 points. You mentioned it, 45-19. This entire Illinois State team only had 45 points in the entire game against Wichita State.
And now our player of the game, and there's no surprise.
No, I mean, unbelievable. Ferris Lee, 26 points, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 rebounds, and had a shot to make or create a play for his team every big moment. And then the second half, he just took off. Ferris Lee was unbelievable.
He certainly was. That, by the way, a career high for Ferris Lee, besting by 2 his previous best. 26 for Ferris Lee to lead the Redbirds. And, I mean, let's put this one in perspective. This is a very good basketball team that had not lost a league game until Saturday, and they're now 20-5.
Yeah, and what could have been a trap game potentially, an emotional letdown after winning in Wichita, turned into almost like a revenge game. So this Illinois State team came out, and you know, they weren't great early. But, boy, do they just wear you down with the defense that they play. And they continue to push the pace. And wow, when Ferris Lee plays like this is a tough team to beat.
So after the game of Wichita State, Dan Muller just threw out the tape. His players will never see it unless they recorded it at home. What about for the Bulldogs? Is this a half that you kind of want to just throw away?
Yeah, I mean, they played 30 minutes. They played 30 pretty good minutes, and for the most part, the game was even. Obviously, it stretched to 6 or 8, but that's kind of a back-and-forth game. It was just that last 10-minute stretch that really built this one up to a 30-point game. I mean, you look at their shooting in the second half, 6 of 33, only 18%. They're going to shoot better than that, but there's also things that you can learn about making extra passes, penetrating into the lane, drawing 2 defenders before you make that pass. I think if you're Coach Jeff Rutter, there's a lot of stuff you can learn. There were some great efforts, but there's some stuff to tie up to go into these last 5 games of conference play.
And I thought early in the half when the Bulldogs were getting good shots and they just weren't going down,
yeah.
I think what you talked about, how Illinois State wears you down,
yep.
how they have Njai, who's really come a long way in a short period of time inside and feign in that length inside. It does. Not only does it wear you down, I think it intimidates you after a while.
It does. And Drake, 13 offensive rebounds, so they were pretty active on the offensive glass as well. They were getting those second chance points. But the big difference, you look points in the paint, and this goes to that size and athleticism. Illinois State, 40 points in the paint versus only 12 for the Bulldogs. If you're shooting 33s, bombing away from the outside, it's going to be tough to score consistently. You're going to be susceptible to having runs in your direction and runs away from you. A few too many runs away from the Bulldogs here in the second half.
On the Bulldogs side of the ledger, Billy Wampler got off to a red-hot start, 12 points. But in the second half, he was shut out. Reed Timmer, a season low for him with 4 points and no baskets.
Yeah, Reed Timmer struggled. He had that little spurt at the beginning of the second half where I thought maybe he was going to get going, just was never able to turn that into something more substantial.
So looking ahead for both squads, for the Redbirds, you think it's important for them to win out to assure an NCAA spot?
I do, and even to say assure an NCAA spot might be rich. You know, I think this team, when you look at their non-conference, they didn't have any of those just big-time wins. And when you're the committee looking throughout the course of the season, who are you going to select? A lot of times you want to see that marquee matchup, that marquee win early in the season. And the Redbirds have done a lot, but we'll see if it's enough. I think the only way they can guarantee a spot in the NCAA tournament is either winning out and then making it to the conference championship game or winning the tournament.
And Illinois State, again, Ferris Lee leading the way. As far as the Bulldogs down the road, and again, 3 of the next 4 are on the road, 5-8 now in the league, and again, still trying to get out of that 7th spot, trying to climb to 6th, and there's still a log jam there with the possibility of Drake if they get things turned around, and they've now lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, so you look at their record and the teams they've played. They've already played 2 against Illinois State. They've already played 2 against Wichita. So for a lot of teams in the league, that's almost an automatic 4 losses. So because of that, they got those out of the way. That means with 5 to play, they have an opportunity to potentially move up the standings as the big boys kind of beat on everybody else. So we'll see how it goes. But obviously, you can beat anybody. That means you're also susceptible to being defeated. So this Drake team has to come out with a lot of energy and get more consistent on the offensive side. Our
last journey together this season, partner. It's always a pleasure.
Always fun, Larry.
So for Adam Emmenecker, then I would blow your name there at the end. For Adam Emmenecker, I'm Larry Morgan. Again, the final score tonight, Illinois State 82 and Drake 53. Our next telecast of Drake basketball will be the Drake women in first place in the Valley on Senior Day against Wichita State. You'll want to see that one on March the 4th as Lizzie Wendell and Caitlin Engel and others bow out. Again, the final tonight, Redbirds 82, Bulldogs 53. This presentation of Drake basketball on MC22 is a production of MediaCom in Des Moines. MC22 is your award-winning local sports programming leader.